All right, everybody. Hi, it's David Kramer, the Critical Thinking Christian. And as I said before, and I'm saying this for all the Christians who come on this channel, and well, not all of them, and it's just a few of them that complained about my bad language and how a Christian shouldn't have bad language. Critical Thinking Christian is what happened, okay? I started critically thinking about what I'm reading as a Christian, and now I'm not a Christian, okay? Now you can come on here and whine about the fact that maybe I never was, or I'm going to go to hell, or blah, 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 okay? You're in a cult. You're a conditioned, brainwashed little child. Grow up, read the shit, and I mean the shit that's in this book, okay? If it looks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, then it's probably a duck. And this book is shit, okay? Now, today, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the whole Sarah and Abraham, and Sarah's told by God that she's going to have a child, and at the time she's 90, and I think Abraham's 100 or somewhere in there, and Abraham, Sarah laughs, and God, gets, triggered and everything. And then eventually, even though Sarah got this prophecy from God that you're going to have a child, Sarah is still all worked up because she don't have kids. So she decides to tell Abraham, her cuck husband, who I'm sure it didn't really bother Abraham. She's like, hey, Abraham, but why don't you go to my maidservant, Hagar, have sex with her, and then when she has a child, I'll consider that child my own. Because the way they would do it was Hagar would get pregnant, and then when it was time for her to deliver the baby, she would pretty much sit on Sarah's lap while she was having the baby, which is very awkward. I mean, a woman having a baby is hard enough without going through all these stupid little games and rituals, because the bitch you're sitting on her lap is all, self-absorbed. I can't have a kid, so you're going to have to pretend. We're going to pretend here. I mean, but she sat on the lap, and then when she had the baby, it would be like Sarah having the baby by proxy. Okay, that's my child. And eventually, Hagar would laugh at Sarah because Sarah couldn't have a kid, and Sarah got all butthurt and decided to tell Abraham to get rid of her. Okay, so we'll start in Genesis 21, 14 through 18 here. Okay. And Abraham rose up early in the morning and took bread and a bottle of water and gave it unto Hagar, putting it on her shoulder, and the child, and sent her away, and she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. And the water was spent in the bottle, and she cast a child under one of the shrubs, and she went and sat down over against him a good way off, as it were a bow shot, for she said, let me not see the death of the child. And she sat over against him and lifted up her voice and wept. And God heard the voice of the lad, and the angel of God called to Hagar out of heaven and said unto her, what aileth thee, Hagar? Okay, now right there we're going to stop. God heard the voice of the lad, and the angel of God called to Hagar out of heaven and said unto her, what aileth thee, Hagar? Now God is supposed to be omniscient. So why did the angel of God, who, now some would say, well, that's probably Jesus. No, it's an angel. But why did this angel call and say, hey, what's wrong? Don't God, who heard the lad, know what's wrong already? I mean, he created the whole mess, didn't he? It's his fault that this is happening, right? Anyway, what aileth thee, Hagar? Fear not, for God hath heard the voice of the lad where he is. Arise, lift up the lad, and hold him in thine hand, for I will make him a great nation. Okay, so there we have this image of Hagar carrying the bread and the water and the child on her shoulder, or carrying the child. And then she gets to a point where she casts the child under a bush. So we are assuming that this is a very small child, because she's not going to be able to carry say a 13, 14, 15-year-old on her shoulder and then cast him. Okay, now this is Genesis 21, 14 through 18. Let's go back to Genesis 17, verse 25. Okay? And Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. Okay, so 4 chapters earlier, we have a 13-year-old kid. But in Genesis 21, we have what? I mean, how's this working here? Throw that down, and then that must have been a strong woman. Now, understand this. Back during those days, before we had all these modern conveniences, women were pretty damn strong. I mean, I actually, nowadays, when I look at females, I see a lot of little girls. Back then, okay, you had women. They were tough, they were strong, they had to deal with all kinds of crap. I mean, especially the way the males were. No, you're going to get married to that guy. But I'm 12 and he's 52. I said you're going to get, okay. So they had to be pretty tough. Okay, that's why women mature earlier than males. Because that evolutionary process caused the woman to pretty much have to mature earlier because of some of the shit that males go. And I'm not into the whole patriarchy, all that toxic, but there is toxic masculinity, okay? And that kind of shit. But anyway, this child is 4 chapters earlier is 13 years old, okay? How old was he here? Okay? Some say maybe 16. That's, I mean, even if she is a strong woman, that's a lot. I mean, 16-year-olds can be pretty darn tall, and, they can weigh like maybe, 150. When I was 17 years old, I weighed 170 pounds. It's pretty much 10 pounds a year, I guess you could say, yeah. So, say he weighs 150 pounds. So even if he weighs 130 pounds, that's a lot of kid to throw into a bush and carry on your shoulder. So Abraham and Sarah are not real. These are foundational myths, okay? These are myths that are told to the people. You see what God did for Abraham, and he's the father of our nation, and look at what happened here. And God did, no. This is just a bunch of shit, okay? And once again, the Bible proves that it is shit by just a crap. I mean, now I'm losing my train of thought. I'm kind of tired. I did some weightlifting, and my brain is, I drank some coffee, and now my brain's kind of shutting down. But what am I trying to say here? This is like the Bible calling itself out, okay? And what I see here with the way the Bible's written is you have one guy writing this, and then you have another guy writing this without no clue about what this guy wrote. I mean, maybe he heard a little bit about what that guy and went, oh, well, I'll write this down. And then another guy writes it, then another guy. And then somewhere along the line, somebody comes along, or a few people, and they just compile it all together without reading it and making sure that it is synchronized and it makes sense. It's just a man-made book by men to control men. That's it. And if you're reading this shit and believing just because you listen to some bastard who's getting paid to preach it, and how many of these preachers who have read this book know it's bullshit? I said in a previous video with Ravi Zacharias, I guarantee you, all the studying that guy did, he came to a conclusion one day that it's bullshit. So then Ravi decided, well, what I'm going to do is go out and just sow my wild oats all my life. And that's what he did. Okay? So, that's all I have right now. I'm going to come out with more. I have more inconsistencies that I'm looking at. And, just, if you're in this religion, which I consider to be nothing more than just another cult, study this. Don't just take my word for it, or don't listen to some guy who's telling you, no, there are no inconsistencies because he needs you under his, control, or he really believes it. And I'm not saying these preachers don't really believe it, but I guarantee you there are preachers out there preaching in pulpits right now that are kind of conflicted. Well, I believed this for years, and I'm seeing shit that doesn't make sense, and I don't know. I don't want to end up in a hell if there is one, or I don't want these people ending up in a hell, which sucks. I mean, they'll care about their flock. Then there are other guys that realize that it's bullshit, and man, they're getting rich. I need another raise. Yeah, I got this problem. I need that. I need a Bentley. So that's all I have right now, and like I said, I will be coming out with more because there's a whole lot more. And until next time, I'm David Kramer, the Critical Thinking Christian.